Welcome in, Falcon fans, to the Atlanta Falcons Fan Show. It's your host, Bryce Lewis, back again, and we have another special guest here with us today. Columnist for The Athletic, covering the Atlanta Falcons, Jeff Schultz. How are you today, Jeff?
Good, Bryce. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, definitely. Always love to talk to Falcons, different people, learn different insights. And, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it, man. So, obviously, the draft is next week, so it's a big day for a lot of Falcons fans. It feels like, especially with all the decisions that are looking to be made during that time, this is probably one of the biggest drafts maybe the Falcons have had in years, potentially, especially with that fourth pick. So I guess one question I'll have for you is, what do you think at this moment the Falcons are leaning on doing? Do you think they're looking to potentially trade that pick? Are you thinking that, okay, quarterback may there, maybe Kyle Pitts, since we've heard him be there? Where's your feeling right now, a week out from that big decision?
So, Bryce, my feeling all along is that what they should do is keep the pick and draft a quarterback. I've been pretty transparent about that. I've written a couple columns on it. For this mere standpoint that regardless of whether you believe Matt Ryan can still play or not, he's obviously near the end. He takes up a lot of room on the salary cap. A lot of people believe that this team is probably not a Super Bowl contender, let's just say in 2021, potentially even in 2022, although we have to wait to see. So given that, this is a rare situation because they are drafting so early. And because it's perceived as a quarterback-rich draft. I mean, there's probably going to be 5 quarterbacks that go in the maybe top 12 picks, let's say, depending on trades and everything. So my belief all along is that they should keep the pick and draft a quarterback. Now, in terms of what I think they will do, I still think they will keep the pick because it's going to cost a lot for a team to trade up for that pick. Those deals are not easy to make. I could definitely see the advantage to the Falcons doing that. They're a team with cap problems, and because of that, you can kind of get more bang for your buck in terms of filling holes on the roster by drafting guys who aren't, at 4. You can draft guys at 15, 16, 18, 19, a couple second round picks, and you could fill more holes if you trade down. The question is, can you find that team who's going to trade up? And that's not an easy thing to do. And there really hasn't been much scuttlebutt about it. People have talked about it, but there hasn't really been anything of substance. So if I had to guess right now, they're keeping the pick. And if I had to guess right now, they're going to take a quarterback still. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Kyle Pitts, who's going to be great. I really believe he's going to be great. He's kind of like one of those tight end, wide receiver, mutant kind of positions that you can play anywhere. I think he'd work great in Arthur Smith's offense. I don't think they can't pick Arthur Smith and have anybody say that's a bad pick. I just think that this is a rare opportunity to draft the next quarterback, and that's what I think they should do.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I mean, it's just, you got to think about the future. You got to think about what life after Matt Ryan. I feel like you don't want to be stuck in that position maybe the Saints were in, where Drew Brees trying, now you're trying to look, or, Pittsburgh looked like they're going to be in that position with Big Ben after he's gone. So hopefully, we'll see what they decide to do. Will be interesting. So another question. If they do take a quarterback, do you have a preference of who you would like them to take at that spot?
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, a lot of people were telling me how much they liked Mac Jones. And I think the first reaction was, what? particularly here in the South, in SEC country, because, I think Mac Jones, as great as Alabama was largely perceived as a guy who had these great players around him, greatest coach in college football history, great program. I mean, taking nothing away from him, he still had to do some things, but a lot of good quarterbacks would function well in that system. But the person who told me, this actually was Scott Pioli, because I quoted him, former longtime executive of the Falcons in New England. who basically said, you could trade down. This is back before Mac Jones shot up to all of a sudden where some people think he is. You could trade down to 15 to 20, pick up an extra pick or two and draft Mac Jones, and that might be the best way to go. And I thought, that's actually not a bad thought. The next thing you know is people are projecting Mac Jones to go third to the 49ers after the 49ers made that trade. And, when San Francisco made the trade to go to third and the rumors first came up that they were going to draft Mac Jones, I think everybody thought, no, come on, man. You're not giving up that much draft equity to draft Mac Jones. You got Justin Fields sitting there. You got Trey Lance sitting there. And but I just talked to a GM of another team the other day, actually, and he told me the same thing. He still thinks they're going to draft Mac Jones. Now, if they do that, the Falcons are looking at Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Athletically, they might be a push. I think Trey Lance might be a bigger question from the mere standpoint that he only played one game last year or whatever. He played at an FCS school. So even if you believe in theory he has a bigger upside than Justin Fields, and I don't know if anybody does, but those who do, it's still a risk because of the level he played at. Justin Fields obviously played at a high level for a big time program, played in championship games, succeeded. And you got the bonus of him being from Kennesaw and being at UGA for about 5 minutes anyway. So, and it would be a great story. So if I had to pick one or the other, I would pick Justin Fields, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm such a draft expert that I've broken down film of both of these guys. And, I could clearly say this guy's better than that guy. Because the truth is, the guys who really do this for a living, it's a guessing game. It's a pure guessing game. You never know what's going to happen when guys get to the next level. Defensive players are bigger, faster, stronger. Defensive schemes are more complex. And everybody is good. Everybody on the field is good. Okay. In college, there's a lot more things you can expose. And you don't know what's going to happen when a guy gets money in his hand. You don't know if they're going to maintain that same work ethic. You don't know about people around them. There are a lot of variables that sway whether a guy's good at the next level or not good at the next level. So, but if you're asking me, I would go Fields. I think he's the safer of the two guys there.
I definitely hear what you're saying. It's been interesting with Justin Fields, just hearing all the up and down talk on him. Some people are souring, some people are not. They say he's the second best QB, but they think he'll be the fifth QB selected. It's like, okay. But I guess that's part of the draft process. It's a process that any day your stock could change, like Mac Jones. So
absolutely. And Bryce, there's a lot of disinformation out there. There's a lot of disinformation campaigns that go on by teams that want negativity out there because they want the guy to fall to them, by agents who want their guy to rise or the other guy to fall. This is not a time of year to believe anything that you are hearing, honestly. and this is what makes this year's draft in particular so interesting because, while everybody assumes obviously Trevor Lawrence is going 1, you've still got the Jets at 2. Everybody's assuming Zach Wilson's going there, but we're talking about the Jets. I mean, who the heck knows what the Jets are going to do, right? We could assume they're going to take Zach Wilson 2, but they might say, we're taking Kyle Pitts because they're the Jets. You don't know. And so anyway.
Hey, I've heard that before, that just might shock everybody to take somebody else because it's the Jets. So that's not a far-fetched thing. But I guess last question before I let you go. So outside of the quarterback position in that spot, what other position on the team do you feel like is the most pressing need for them to fill at this point? Maybe not even just in the draft, but for the rest of the offseason.
Yeah. Well, it's a great question, and they can almost do no wrong. I mean, the thing about the Falcons is, while you've got a lot of holes to fill, the good news is you've got a lot of holes to fill, so you're not going to pick a guy at a quote unquote stocked position. But the most glaring need really is on the defensive side of the ball. Edge rusher, cornerback, safety, all three of those positions they really need. So I think it's really going to sort of depend on the best, as the cliche goes, the best player and players available when their picks come up. If it's not with their first pick, because I think we could probably safely assume they're going to pick an offensive player with their first pick. In fact, the first 8 to 10 players in this draft might be offensive players, which is crazy when you think about it. This is not a draft that has great edge rushers at the top end of the draft, but there's probably some guys later. But definitely, I would say secondary and both cornerback and safety and edge rusher. I don't personally believe the offensive line is as desperate a need as a lot of people think. They've drafted some guys there the last couple of years. They've still got Jake Matthews coming back. And I'm of the belief, and I know some other people are too, that really what's been wrong with this offensive line the last couple of years is, number one, they've been unbelievably poorly coached. And I think the line is going to be coached better in 2021. And I also think play calling, not even so much scheme, but just play calling by Arthur Smith, being more creative and less predictable, is going to make the offensive line look better. So I think those two things, I think they'd be fine if they kind of stand pat somewhat at offensive line. The big question obviously was whether Matt Hennessy can make the transition to center, because they're going to need a center with Alex Mack gone. But beyond that, I think their offensive line is okay. I suppose then you could go to running back, wide receiver, tight end, but I think you have to look at the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. And, obviously, I feel like this year, at least if the offensive line remains okay, we still do have some pretty good receiving weapons. I think we'll still be able to score points. It's just, we got to be able to stop some people, get after the pass, and that's going to be big. So hopefully they do go heavy defense, maybe after that first pick, could potentially get us some spots filled, get some cheaper guys in there, but still productive. Maybe like the 2016 draft where they got Deion Jones, Keanu O'Neal, all those guys. So, but that's all the time we have here. Thank you, Jeff, for coming on to the show. Falcon fans, that was your Atlanta Falcons Fan Show.
To host a fan show or appear as a fan on a fan show, simply create a profile on Fan Media's iOS app or website. Select your teams and make a short intro video on your phone. Show hosts, reporters, former players, and superfans can use our Get Verified feature and make an intro video as well, and our mobile newsroom staff will reach out.